And hello everyone, welcome to this video. So in this video, I want to start going through a little bit of Salome Python. Okay, Salome Python. Why are we doing this? Well, sometimes you want to make your geometries repeatable. You want to save them into perhaps a code form so that you can reproduce your geometry every time without going through your without saving the entire study file, because the Python files are much smaller. Okay, so anyway, so whatever reason you want to for whatever reason you want to get into Salome Python, well, here it is. Okay, so just before we start, I just want to say we are going to use Docker in Manjaro, and then you're going to run a Ubuntu container and run Salome. Okay, I have a video here detailing how you should be doing it. And in that video, over here in the description, I actually list some of the steps that are needed to get Salome running. And yeah, you should install these packages. And I think I actually missed out some other packages as well, because when you start Salome, it will complain that some packages are missing. So the stuff that you need to install they are listed here as well. Okay, so I assume you know some of this stuff already. I won't be going through them again. So before I start, let's go to the Docker images. We can go through the Docker images. And just a reminder, I'm making these videos as I'm learning, okay? So don't expect me to know everything. I'm actually figuring things out, so-called along the way. But I do have a bit of, I do prepare a little bit just before starting the videos. So this is how my whole channel is styled. Okay. All right. So to run it, we do sudo docker run it. So what, environment equals to display, net equals to host, Ubuntu latest. So I assume you know all of this. In fact, it'll be good to put all this into an alias just to make the typing a little bit easier. All right. So I'm in my Docker container. If I run Firefox, should be able to run it. Or not. It's lagging now. That's not supposed to happen, but never mind. Firefox isn't crucial. Salome is. Let's go to Salome and we'll go to Salome here and we'll just type Salome. It should be able to launch. So it will take a while to run. Okay. So that's Salome for you. Let's take a look. Maybe I will keep this thing open. Now, notice here it says there's no module named zip, and from this Salome PyQt. So actually, I want to install some of these. So let's just do that. I'll do apt install python 3 zip and python 3 pyqt5, and then so that I will get rid of these no module errors. So it will install. All right. Okay, so it will install. And if you run Salome again, it should not have the same errors. If you can see, let's keep this thing open. Okay, before we had let's see, we had this error of no module name zip. Okay, now we don't have such a problem. So the zip and pyqt5, you get apt to install it, and it shouldn't be a problem. And of course, I actually want to set up the alias so that I can run this anytime. So I'm going to vim my bash rc, or rather echo, or rather let me do alias Ubuntu equals this. Okay, so if I type Ubuntu, and I type my password, it should give, yeah, it should get me straight to that. So that's the whole idea of aliases. It should make all of this easier. I'm going to do the echo of all of this, okay, into my bash rc file, source my bash rc file, okay, and I'm going to exit. And actually, I didn't need to do that. Let's try typing Ubuntu, and let's see whether I can get into my Docker container. And there you are. Docker container is done. I can do a system prune. Because yeah, I want to clear things up. Okay, my container here is still running, so it should be fine. Yeah, let the thing prune at its own time. Okay, and without further ado, let's start. Okay. All right. So where do we start with this whole Python thing? Well, the easiest way is to so-called record a macro. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so we start with Salome. You can go to geometry. Okay, so it's gonna take a while. You can start Salome. You go to geometry, and then we can just make a simple. We can make a simple cylinder, sphere, or whatever. So let's make a cylinder. So we'll just make a random cylinder. You can apply and close, and I can go to the Python console, and when I drag it up and down, it will give you this glitchy graphics thing. Then you can't click it anymore. What you can do to solve this is just go to the top right here, where there's this X here and there's this like minimize, maximize thing. Just click on that and you should be able to bring the Python console to the front, and it should not be a problem now. So if you can just type print hello world, it should be able to print hello world. Okay, so here is your Python console. It will not be the same as the Python that you're running inside your Ubuntu shell. This Python kind of lives on its own island, and that's how you got to do it with Salome. Unfortunately, so yeah, we can. I mean, it's possible to it may be possible to install it using pip if you write your own custom script, but that will take pretty long to try and debug and work it out right, so I won't even try. So I'm going to work within these constraints within for these upcoming videos for the sake of time. Okay, so I'm going to just type Control D. Okay, close again. Go there and type Control D, and what does this Salome bring up? It will bring up this folder where you see this thing called dump study. So what dump study means is that it takes everything you did in the study so far, which, well, is just making this cylinder, and then you dump it into a Python file. So let's see, test1. Let's call this test1. Okay, let's just save it, and then we can close Salome. Let's quit Salome. Don't save the study, and let's go back to our Ubuntu shell, and let's click it open, keep it open. Excuse me, and we'll close this one. And now I'm going to type clear, and look at this. We have a test1.py here. Let's go use Vim to do test1.py. And what do we have in here? So we'll see this thing user bin environment Python import sys import Salome. Then you have Salome. After importing Salome, you kind of execute this function called Salome init, import Salome notebook, and then you sort of, I think, use this to declare an object. So I hope you are very familiar with Python object-oriented programming. I will not go through this in this video. It will be assumed knowledge. Okay, so all of these are things that you can do. And you see over here, geompy equals geombuilder new. This is an object which you kind of declare after importing all of this stuff. So I guess all of this over here is quite common. You have to import this environment. So you have this, which is your origin, and then you have or OX, OY, and OZ. What is OX, OY, and OZ? OX, OY, and OZ, they are basically vectors that point from the origin to somewhere else. Okay, so that you can see your X, Y, and Z axis. Now the next thing is cylinder. You're making the cylinder. So this is the part where you sort of only make the cylinder. Okay, so again, we make, for this one is very simple. Well, if you're not familiar, it's not that simple, but I'll walk through with you the steps a few times. So yeah, according to this code, you make a vertex here at 0, 0, 0, which is the origin. And then you have this make vector, dx, dy, dz. These are Cartesian coordinate vectors. This is OX, so it's arrow pointing in the X direction. Here's the arrow pointing in the Y direction. Here's the arrow pointing in the Z direction. And all these will form your axis. Then you have a cylinder over here, which is John Pi. You execute this thing called make cylinder, RH. Okay. And once after that, you just add all of this to the study, and then you execute this code called update object browser. Okay. So this is what the code here is doing. Okay, you may not get it all at once, but yeah, slowly we'll try to get used to it. Okay, it is something new, obviously. Now let's run Salome again, and let's see whether we can run this test1.py. Okay, so let's run test1.py. Okay, so Salome is going to run. Okay, and now to close this thing up, I don't want this to be active. And we'll go back to our beloved Python console. Let's go to geometry and see whether the Python console is still around. And I drag it up and down. Yep, it's at the forefront, so it's okay. All you need to do here is just say import test1. You should be able to execute all the code to make the cylinder. Now you may notice over here that yeah, the cylinder doesn't show immediately, so you actually have to turn it on and off. Okay, turn it on and off to sort of yeah, do the code, and yeah, that is it. Okay, so just to give you a show of what each bit of code actually does, let's just modify this test1 a little bit. Okay, for example, we have this part called test1.py. You have this thing called update browser, right? See this part, update browser? Well, we can comment that out and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to insert comments here, and I'm going to save and quit using Vim. And let's run Salome again. So just want to demonstrate what this last bit of code does. Again, we are at our beloved Python console. If you love Python, I don't know whether everyone loves Python. Okay, you don't have to like coding, you just got to use it. All right, anyway, so let's do this, import test1 again. Okay, and then if you go and click the geometry here, you will not see the cylinder automatically appear. Why? It's because we just commented out the part that says update study. So the part that says update study means after you execute your code, it's supposed to appear here. Okay, so the code has been executed. You built your cylinder. It just isn't appearing graphically yet. How do you make it appear graphically? If you want to do it manually, okay, go to the object browser. Okay, go to object browser and go to the notebook tab and just click update study. Okay, when you click update study, you will see the cylinder appear here, and then you can just turn it on. And that is the basics of Python. Python what do you call that? Python scripting in Salome. And of course, you can automate a lot of things. You can make your own classes, objects, scripts to make whatever shape and geometry you want. You can even use it for meshing, so that you can automate your whole OpenFOAM meshing. And not, you can do it graphically and you can automate it. That is the power of Salome. Okay, so let's take a look at the Python guide. So there is this Python script example over here. you can take a look. These are more advanced, so to speak, what do you call that? Advanced code. I won't call it advanced. These are just tutorial code, which will teach you how to start with the Salome thing. So there are two ways of learning. One is that you kind of play around with Salome here manually, make your shapes, do everything, and then dump everything to a Python script by using Control D. Again, do everything here and dump it to a Python script using Control D. Or you can look here and you can go through the code one bit at a time. Now, of course, if you're new to Python or new to Salome Python coding, looking at all this code will be a little bit overwhelming because you have to import so many things and nothing makes sense at the start. So well, I guess both of these have their strengths and weaknesses. You can take both hand in hand to see how you want to learn your code. But over here you have your Salome platform documentation, which shows you how to make your code, make your Salome Python code. So oh dear. All right, looks like we have to restart. Let's restart Firefox and go to Firefox. Yeah, so basically you have to go to whatever web browser you have, and I'm having a little update issues, but basically you will be able to see well, there you go. Yeah, you will be able to see well, now the new tab, and you go here and you should be able to see the Salome documentation. There's a lot of things here. For example, just now we are in the Python interface geombuilder.py. I can actually open this up and it will have a lot of things. For example, creating geometric objects. So what are some of the geometric objects? You can create a point, you can create a line, and you can see these things are pretty extensive and long. So if you want to learn bits of code, you can look at it here. Of course, if you look at this the first time, you may in all likelihood be put off by the amount of code that's there, but it's very extensive. So my suggestion is that you start playing with this first, export it to a Python dump file, and you play with it from there. Then when you're more confident, you can go to this part and you can see, we can actually use some of this code here to make stuff. All right, so here's how you make the very basic stuff. Planes, vectors, go to primitives. You should be able to know how to create a box, a cylinder, sphere, a torus, etc, etc. There's advanced geometrical objects like a T-shaped pipe, some divided disc and cylinder. I have no idea what that is now. Complex objects like a prism. This one's very interesting. It's the creation of a group, adding objects to groups. This one is for it's very useful for multi-region meshing with OpenFOAM. So do take note, these are important. Okay, then you have building by blocks, you have etc, etc. The other thing I want to bring to your attention. Okay, the other thing I want to bring to your attention is this thing called the Python interface for meshing, which obviously you will need it to automate your meshing process, because this is where the mesh part comes in. Very important. So normally what you do after you finish your making of your cylinder or making of your once you're done with making your geometry, next thing you need to do is to mesh. So again, same thing. You can actually try playing along with the GUI, the graphical user interface. Play along with the GUI, and then try to mesh things, and you see how the code actually looks like in your dump file. Or you can look at the mesh user guide over here, where you see from Salome smesh import smesh builder. Smesh equals to smesh builder new. You can look at the algorithms here, and then you can see here how we make a 3D mesh generation thingy. Okay, so, and there are lots of Python scripts over here for creating meshes, defining hypotheses and algorithms. So you can see the documentation here is pretty extensive. You can look at these documentations, user guide, all of this, and you should be able to play around with bits of the code. So this should be all the tools to get you started with Salome Python meshing. So we might walk through a few examples of some complex shapes, how we make those complex shapes, and I will be putting all this under the thin pipe flow snappy hex mesh kind of what do you call that? Thin pipe flow snappy hex mesh GitHub repository, because this should be under the OpenFOAM Intermediate series. Okay, because I don't want to keep making new playlists, so I'm just so-called dumping it here. Okay, so that's all I have for you. I hope you found this video useful in getting started with Salome Python meshing. Okay, again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again. Bye-bye.